Hey, welcome back to Ask Allison. Here's today's question. I work within a group practice where all the therapists are independent contractors who pay rent to the practice owner. Most of us have shifted exclusively telehealth, but the owner has made no mention of accommodations, such as reducing rent or discussing lease changes. I've taken a very cautious approach as I have a weakened immune system. So I've been exclusively telehealth for the past weeks and plan to remain this way until this is all the way over. Is it reasonable for me to bring this up with her? And if so, how would you recommend doing that? So first, I believe we always have the right to ask. We just don't always have the right to expect. So I'm confused about the setup. It sounds like you're paying rent to them, like a flat fee every month. Or are you getting paid a certain amount by the practice owner, either a flat rate per session or a percentage of what you bring into the practice? I'm just confused about the setup of it being a 1099 situation, but really just rent. So when you say group practice, it makes me think the owner of the practice is responsible for other things beyond just supplying the space, like scheduling or billing or bringing in clients. If it's more of a traditional group practice. So if it's just rent and you've got this lease you mentioned, then I would definitely have a conversation. I would look at the terms of your lease. It can't hurt to let the owner know that you are struggling with paying rent, even if that's an emotional struggle and not a financial struggle. They may be able to get some reduction from the owner of the building. I'd also clarify some things with an attorney about the way the business is set up and what your responsibility is based on your lease and any contracts you've signed with the owner. Just not to do anything mean or bad with it, but just to get a clear sense of what exactly your responsibility is during this time. If it's more of a traditional group practice, there are some things to consider that I didn't know before I was a group practice owner that I want to talk about for a minute for anybody else in group practice. So it's likely that the group practice owner is still having to pay rent. If it's a large practice, the amount of rent will probably make your heart pound. As your income goes down, so does theirs, and they may be pulling from personal funds to cover some of the expenses of the business if they didn't have the savings within the business. So I've heard from a number of group practice owners that are really truly concerned about the viability of what they've built, and they're doing what they can to keep their clinical employees or their ICs paid, keeping their admins paid, the practice's bills paid, and many who have personal savings aren't paying themselves anymore. So they seem to be trying to keep everybody on board, often against the advice of the accountants who are telling them to just lay people off and let them collect unemployment and not work so hard to try to make ends meet right now. So those that have ICs aren't eligible for some of the financial support that the CARES Act has offered. But as a 1099, as a contractor, you're eligible since you're technically a business. So apply for the PPP now, that it's getting some more funding. Hopefully they haven't run out in the last couple of days since they refunded some of it. Apply for the disaster loans. Both of those allow you to pay rent from the funds given. If it is indeed rent, sounds like you have a lease. So that sounds like rent. And I also totally get the frustration of paying rent when you aren't using a space. I really, truly, desperately miss my office, and I desperately hate paying so much money for it to just sit there empty. I'm hoping my CARES Act money will come in so that I can resent sending that check. Not at all. I can just send it with love. But it might be when you're talking to your lawyer about your contract and your lease, it might be that this isn't the best setup for you, particularly if we're going to be here for a while, or if we're going to be here and then out of here and then back in this situation in a few months. So if you or anyone else needs help building their own practice, it's actually an exciting week for us. We're opening the doors to the Inner Circle Wednesday through Friday, so only a little more than 48 hours. So if you've been looking for one-on-one support, group support, on-demand learning, and a ton of help with your website, come and join us. We're going to open the doors for those 2 days only for the highest level of support that we offer at Abundance. So keep your eyes peeled for the registration page on Wednesday. We'll be talking about it on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll send out a few emails about it too, just so that people who want to join know what's happening. If you have questions for Ask Allison, please DM me over on Instagram. I'm abundance_practice_building there, and I will talk with you later.